Hello and welcome to a Week 17 edition of Establish the Pools. My name is Adam Levitan. As always, joined by Mark Dankenbring and Peter Jennings. Mark, happy holidays, happy New Year. How's it going?
Hey, it's going pretty well. I got back in Denver yesterday after spending about a week in Cincy with the fam, so it feels good to be back here. Had a nice night of NBA props, so as always, good to be back in the legal state and firing, and should be another fun weekend of football.
It is always a nice slate of NBA props. Peter, how's it going?
Good. I've been absolutely blasting my dick on these bowl games and DFS and betting.
We pushed this back half hour for an Ohio University bowl game. That was a hilarious message to get.
the late slate started at 2:30 Mountain Time, so I had to make sure I had everything right there. Some interesting news of the Wyoming running back situation. We are grinding, boys.
It's good. By the way, speaking of grinding, I don't want to bury the lead here. The lead is that Peter is still alive in Survivor somehow, some way. We will get to that in a minute here. I want to start with the Pick'em stuff, though. I've been dead and am dead in Pick'em. And actually, rookie mistake by me. Even if I was in it, I would have been in big trouble this week because I am in Florida. And I realized that when I got here, I can't even get onto my DraftKings Sportsbook account. So if I was live in Pick'em or Survivor, I would have just been like stone dead. I would have been on mega tilt. So pro tip out there, rookie mistake by me. Luckily, I'm beyond dead, though. Peter, you had some stuff before I left for this trip. Are you still alive in the Pick'em?
Yeah, I'm cashing a team, and I'm on the bubble, and I took Dallas everywhere. So I think if I go 4-1, I can get thousands of dollars back, maybe 10K with one of those spots. So trying to battle. There's a lot of chalk this week, so I'll have to kind of go through. I hope I took Dallas on every one of my teams, even the teams that were like mostly dead. And then I'll try to get more contrarian, maybe taking like the Raiders or something with a couple of the spots on the weaker teams.
Yeah, very clearly anybody in the lead, in the money, near the lead, I think needs to take San Francisco, given the quarterback change. If you're a little bit off of the bubble, I don't know how far, Mark, you think, but if you were like, I don't know, 100 spots off or something like that, I might consider not taking San Francisco. You also have a big line move across the 3 there in Tampa, which I don't know that I agree with that move, but what do I know? Anyways, what do you think about the San Francisco strategy and then Tampa?
Yeah, I'd probably, if you're on the bubble, I think you'd probably have to avoid them and just hope something crazy happens there. There's a few other good games with decent edges here. So, it's a week where I think there's going to be a decent amount of movement, and, we might see something like pop up the next couple of days as well to have a lot of solid options. Like even scrolling down here, there's a few teams that I like to target that will probably get overlooked just with the chalk at the top. So I think, if you're on the bubble, I'd probably lean away from San Francisco, especially if, you need to pick up like 2 games, on the field. But again, you kind of have to assess that, just based on how far out you are.
I'm going to ask David about the Bucks game tonight. I'm also going to ask him about Seattle and the Jets tonight. Those are 2 lines that I think are interesting and somewhat confusing, though. But for Peter, for you in the lead, even if you don't like, and I think Carolina can certainly stick with Tampa here. The line did cross 3, though, and you see how much that's worth. Like just going from 2.5 to 3.5 at -103 there is worth 19%. People, obviously, I think casuals underrate how much that line move is worth. I assume that in your teams in the money, Peter, you'll be taking Tampa. Any more thoughts?
Yeah, we've been on Carolina lately, and I know David Dow's like Carolina. So this is a spot where I'm surprised on the line movement. We'll be curious to hear what he has to say. But yeah, I think with teams, the top teams, I'm going to ride San Francisco, Dallas, Tampa, and we'll see on the Houston stuff. That's the one I'm also just want to monitor. But yeah, it should be interesting. And one contrarian play that I like out of all these right now, I would go against the Vikings and actually take the Packers. I think the Vikings are just a fraudulent team relative to their record. I mean, everyone knows that at this point, but the Packers have gotten a lot healthier. I know Christian Watson sounds like he may miss this week, but the rest of the team is doing well. And I think the Packers are kind of peaking at the right time.
Yeah, Aaron Jones off the injury report. Christian Watson looks like he's headed for a game time decision. Just to build on what Peter said there about the Jacksonville-Houston game, even if the Jaguars win this week, they still only have a 6 to 8% chance of getting the wild card. And I don't know that the coaches are going to think like this, but man, there's some fragility there. And you can see it in the market. Trevor Lawrence was listed as questionable today. Line is down to 3 for a Jacksonville team that's been playing very well against this Houston team, which has shown up a bit lately, but talent difference is Max. Anyways, we're bearing the lead here. I can't believe it. I mean, there's 13,000 people started in the DraftKings Survivor pool. Only 93 are left. Peter is one of them. There's about 13K of equity roughly remaining. Now, this is not like all the other Survivor pools. There's a lot of Survivor pools where you have to make multiple picks at the end. Yada, there's no chops, yada, yada, yada. DraftKings is featuring a chop this year, correct, Peter? If there's 50 people left, 50 people are going to split the money, correct?
Yep, exactly. So
okay.
2 more weeks. This week's interesting, and then next week will be a shit show.
So last week, 6% of people had the Lions, who got trucked by the Panthers. 10% had Tennessee, who lost to the Texans. I mean, Malik Willis just is not ready. 27% had Tampa. That was the one, man. Arizona had them. Shout out Trace McSorley, man. Arizona had them. Brady pulls it out of his ass again there. So that was brutal. Peter had the Chargers. They were 11%. I don't even know what you have left, Peter. Have you decided what you're taking this week? I don't think this is only interesting for you. Everybody else is stone cold dead in Survivor. So this is really only interesting for you.
Well, hopefully there's some people out there that have maybe advanced in some of their second chance stuff or are still left. It's a tough spot. I have multiple options. So I'm curious to hear what your guys' perspective is. Right now, I have the Lions in, but I also have the ability to use who do I have? I have the ability to use the Giants, who are minus 219 versus the Colts. I believe I have the Falcons as well. So it's kind of a tricky spot where all three teams are really similar.
Yeah. So announced today, the Cardinals are going to start David Blau. David Blau is former Lions backup, was most recently on the Vikings practice squad. He just gets signed to Arizona's active roster 2 weeks ago. I don't think the talent difference between David Blau and Colt McCoy is that different. It's just like he hasn't been there. So I think Falcons are somewhat interesting there. But man, Giants home against Nick Foles in a must win. That one I think is the most interesting to me. You never know when Fields can just show up for a huge game. That scares me a little bit on our Lions. But yeah, I think my lean would be Giants there. Mark, do you have a lean there on those three for Survivor? Atlanta, the Giants, and the
Lions.
And the Lions, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would lean the Giants as well. Just the Colts seem like such a dead team right now, going back to Nick Foles and backup running backs. Like they're just seem to be, pretty dead at this point. So I do think the Lions, they're solid at home. They've been playing really well and just, on paper are such a better team than the Bears. But, I don't think they're necessarily as, super foolproof, and just kind of feel better about the lack of talent on the Colts and attacking that. Looking ahead to week 18, I think you ended up using Seattle a few weeks ago, right, Peter, when they were on the road against the Rams? Because I know you're debating like holding them for their week 18 matchup.
No, I still have Seattle.
Okay. Nice. So you potentially use that. I mean, if there's a tiebreaker, if you would potentially use the Giants in week 18 or the Lions, that could potentially switch things. But I'd feel solid about either of those guys, and probably lean Giants as well.
By the way, I mean, the Cardinals might be packing it in. Like, not only are they starting David Blau in this game, but DeAndre Hopkins might just be like, screw it, I'm not playing either. So I think we need to keep an eye on injury news there. And you could see that line get pushed out a little bit. But yeah,
still just with a rookie quarterback there and Ritter, and the Falcons not super confident in their ability to put up points.
Yeah, it's really close. We'll watch the market. I definitely am not locking anything in. There's still a lot of stuff that can break, like Adam just mentioned. And if you just look at the VIG free, the unabated line right now, it's minus 220 Falcons, minus 227 Lions, and minus 219 Giants. So, I mean, it's within 8 cents at minus 220 essentially, which is, essentially nothing. So all of these teams are like 70% essentially. And we'll wait and see. And good luck to those people out there. Also, the game theory aspect, like if I knew one of those teams is going to be much more heavily owned, I certainly would be more willing to fade that team, just hoping to get more equity if they did lose.
Yeah, it's really hard to figure out what people are going to use at this point because you don't know what they have used, right? Like, not that many people use
I actually do know a lot of it, but a lot of people haven't used these teams specifically. So that's the hard part, like you mentioned.
Exactly. All right. Let's go to the Underdog Pick'em portion of the program. For the guys that don't know what Underdog Pick'em is, essentially you can go to Underdog, and I know most people know Underdog for best ball, but they also have this Pick'em game where you can go higher or lower on player props, essentially. And so I'm actually in the state of Florida right now where I'm allowed to blast, and
nice.
I don't know. I might get on there and actually start blasting some a little bit later. I think one edge in this that you can find is comparing the line for the books on some of these like lines like touchdowns and stuff like that and receptions. And when they get juiced, they may not always move on. Underdog is also a little bit laggy behind the books here. So there are definitely some edges here on Pick'em. If you have not tried Underdog yet, promo code ETR and UnderdogFantasy.com will get you $100 matching deposit bonus. All right. I have a few here that I actually like here on this slate. I can go second though. Mark, start us off here. And by the way, hopefully if you guys are an ETR subscriber, you're in the Discord, you're in the Underdog channel. Shout out to Andrew from Underdog, who's been giving away money in there every time we hit one of these to random people in the Underdog Discord channel. Mark,
cool. Yeah, I have a couple options. One of them is an even number though, so it might end up pushing. I don't know how we want to handle that. Obviously, most standard books don't offer that, so I'm not sure if we want to take a bet like that. But Juju Smith-Schuster under 6 receptions is on here, and that seems pretty high. The line is at 5.5, and it's positive money towards the under on standard books. So it's not like this is super off market, but technically to lose, he has to get over 6 receptions, which seems like a tall task to ask. They're at home against Denver. Denver, comes in as 14-point underdogs, I believe. And, I just don't think the Chiefs, who have locked up the AFC West, are really going to push it too much here. So I think that's probably just a little bit too high of a line here for Juju. And at ETR, we're projecting in the low 5s there.
Yeah. Target share continues to be somewhat flat behind Travis Kelce there. And you see a lot of volatility in Juju. I certainly like that one. Peter, if you have one ready, you can go ahead. If not, I do have a couple here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the fragility in Jacksonville and go under 50.5 yards for Christian Kirk. A lot of the market's at 48, 49.5, and he's kind of a higher mean than median guy. They have a lot of weapons. Obviously, Christian Kirk's a great player and could bury me in the first quarter, but in the event that they start their players and maybe go to their backups, I mean, there's just fragility here. So I like going under on a player like Christian Kirk.
Okay. I don't know what's going on with Alvin Kamara, man. I really don't. It's been such a weird season for Alvin Kamara. I know he has the legal stuff looming over him. He hasn't played well, but he hasn't really been used optimally either. And they don't even use him on passing downs, which is crazy to me. So I like this rush receiving under Kamara under 83.5. Rush receiving against a very, very good Eagles defense here. Kamara stuff has been super, super frustrating. I've played him in cash a few times, and every time I've played him in cash, actually, the usage has been there. He's just been somewhat inefficient. Obviously, the team is not as good. He's not scoring as many touchdowns, but not playing the pass down stuff has really been weird for Alvin Kamara here. And even with Minshew starting, I think the Eagles are a pretty good bet to be on top of the Saints here.
Yeah, so I almost mentioned, or I wanted to mention the Eagles as I think a decent contrarian play and pick them because the line has moved against them a bit, but I think they could roll here. The Saints are missing a couple key defensive players per usual. And you mentioned this, funny business going on with Kamara. They're trotting out David Johnson in place of him on third downs, which just seems wild. Chris Olave might not be out there, so they could be down, just several key pieces. And then we won't toss this in on the official, but I will mention Tom Brady. This line actually moved. It was 285.5 before we got on, and the rest of the books were at 281, but it looks like that was matched. I was just going to toss that out for anyone out there.
42.5 passing prop is so outrageous, but I actually think that's right. Like, it's so crazy, the Brady attempt stuff. He just gets back there and slings. It's so wild. All right.
I'll say one thing on the Eagles just to play a little bit of contrarian. I agree with you broadly, but the Lane Johnson entry is massive for them.
Yeah.
So that's one other thing just to be, again, on all this stuff, there's so many key players that could be resting, and there's a lot of entries right now. Like, really understand how healthy teams are when you're looking to bet or play fantasy or these pick'ems things, because there's a lot of information edge at this point in time of the season.
Oh yeah, this is the best time of year, information edge time. Spreadsheet virgins have nothing on the information grinders this time of year, baby. It's so good.
The information grind is the best.
All right. That is going to do it for this week 17 pools show. Everybody be safe out there for New Year's. We'll see you next week for the final week of the regular season, the final week of this show. For Mark, for Peter, I'm Adam. Good luck, everybody.